Well, summer weather is here, lots of birds are here, and some of the road construction is here too. But anyway, if you have bluebird trails in your area, please find some time to check them out. My husband did last week and we just couldn't get enough of all the tree swallows and eastern bluebirds that were flying in and out of their bluebird boxes. We took lots of pictures and lots of video, and we just enjoyed this special time of the year. If you are seeing fewer bird species at your bird feeders, please don't worry. This is quite normal this time of the year because birds are busy with nesting. And right now, actually, all I have on my bird feeders are American goldfinches. As you might know, they nest much later than other birds. They're actually the last birds to nest. They start sort of mid-July and go all the way to September. So right now, all they're doing is sitting on my feeders and eating all day long. As you might know, Cornell recommends using black oil sunflower seeds in tube feeders like ours because that type of seed is in a shell, so it's protected and it doesn't spoil as fast. But this time of the year, if you have lots of goldfinches that are just sitting on your feeders and eating, it's all right to switch to hulled sunflowers or sunflower hearts. This will help control all the mess on the ground. It will let your grass grow a little bit more, and it will also keep those goldfinches quite happy as long as they empty your feeders sort of every 2 to 3 days. And if you live in a very humid area, please remember that hulled seeds do spoil rather fast in that kind of climate. So keep an eye on your feeders, and if you see that they're not being consumed fast enough, switch to black oil sunflower seeds. How many of you have mockingbirds in your backyard? And how many of you have mockingbirds that are being a little bit too aggressive towards your other feeder birds? Laura McMahon from Kentucky had a wonderful feeding station, and lots of birds were coming to that station until a mockingbird showed up and scared all the birds away. Laura then put up a diversion feeder on the other side of the house, but the bird is not really interested in that feeding station. So Laura is asking Dr. Bird if he has any kind of suggestions how to keep the mockingbird from scaring all her other feeder birds.
Hi, Laura. Ah, yes, those bullying territorial mockingbirds. You're not alone with this problem, and you're on the right track with setting up a diversion feeder, but there are some other factors to consider. First, placing that new feeder on the other side of the house may not be working because the mockingbird simply doesn't want to go there for any number of reasons. Keep in mind that a diversion feeder has to offer enough enticement to attract the mockingbird away from the original feeder. Alternatively, maybe the feeder design or food offered is also not enough to draw the bird away. Here are some suggestions. First, set up your diversion feeder only about 20 feet away from the feeder that you're trying to free up, because that makes it harder for the mockingbird to defend both feeders at the same time. As for foods to be offered, mockingbirds love fruit, such as apple peels. They also cherish eggshells, raisin, mealworms, hulled sunflower seed, peanut hearts, and yes, even suet. Variety is good. Regarding feeder design, offer any or all of those foods on a ground or pole-mounted platform feeder. Or you can try a bird feeder encased in 1.5-inch wire caging to keep the larger mockingbird out. On a long-term basis, you can plant fruit trees like blackberries, hawthorn, and mulberry bushes to attract the mockingbirds away from all of your feeders. Finally, be patient. Mockingbirds are generally only aggressive during the breeding season, which only lasts about 6 weeks.
Ah, the smell of shade-grown coffee, and it tastes so much better as well. I've talked about it many times before, and the first time I mentioned shade-grown coffee about 5 years ago, it wasn't that easy to find it, and it was rather expensive. Thankfully, the demand for this type of coffee has grown, so a lot of coffee farmers have switched to growing coffee in shade rather than being exposed to the sun. This type of coffee is not only tastier, it's actually better for the habitat that a lot of southern birds rely on to survive. So look for it in your local grocery store or buy it online, try it out, and let me know if you actually find it tastier.
If you're not convinced that having lots of different kinds of birds in your immediate surroundings can increase your life satisfaction, how about the fact that it might help you to live longer? According to a recent study this past March, the ambience of birdsong in nature can actually improve one's health. A team of scientists from Carleton University in Ottawa, 6 American universities, and the U.S. National Park Service performed a statistical analysis of some 36 past studies, much of them in laboratory settings, for the purpose of exploring the measurable health benefits of natural sound, including pleasant bird songs and calls. They found that various groups exposed to such sounds saw a 184% improvement in overall health outcomes by lowering blood pressure, augmenting cognitive performance, and even reducing pain. And another recent study from the California Polytechnic University found that placing speakers playing a variety of pre-recorded bird songs and calls on hiking trails improved the outdoor experience in general. In other words, hearing birdsong while hiking outdoors improved people's overall well-being, more than if they hiked without hearing any birds chirping. The scientists set up hidden speakers on 2 sections of trails in the open space and mountain parks in Boulder, Colorado, and then they switched between playing recorded songs from a diverse group of birds with silence on alternating weeks. Next, they interviewed hikers and found that those who unwittingly heard the birdsong recordings reported a greater sense of well-being than those who did not hear them. Of course, the 2 biggest challenges in all this is to first convince folks to venture out into nature, and second, to halt the serious decline in many of our bird species all over the world.
Even though cranes have been seen in Ireland during non-breeding season, there has been no record of them nesting there in over 300 years. Cranes need wetlands, marshes, and peat bogs to nest in, and those habitats have been threatened because of peat harvesting and human expansion. Well, in January, peat producer Board Namana announced that they would stop harvesting peat, and since then they have re-wetted thousands of peat bogs. In the spring, a pair of common cranes was spotted building a nest in one of the rehabilitated bogs. Of course, scientists and conservationists are absolutely thrilled to see common cranes building nests, and they're hoping that this is just the beginning of the return of the common crane to Ireland's Midlands. The yellow-breasted chat is a bit of an oddity in the bird world because it doesn't really sing, but it does have over 40 distinct sounds, and it's been on the verge of local extinction for most of the 20th century. In Canada, the chat is disappearing almost as fast as its habitat, waterfront and riverbanks. At the beginning of the 21st century, there was only 1 breeding pair left in the Okanagan Valley, so that's when Environment Canada, along with a number of local conservation groups, started a conservation project. Yellow-breasted chats will only nest in areas that have wild roses, which get trampled and removed because they grow on riverbanks. So conservationists in the Okanagan Valley fenced off 70 kilometers, 43 miles along a stream, and guess what? Wild roses came back, and so did chats. The 1 breeding pair is now 25 breeding pairs, and Environment Canada is hoping to apply this conservation program to other areas where chats have been seen nesting before. Well, that's it. That's all for now. Our photo contest, which is Singing Birds, is still open. Please don't forget to write the name of your birds if you participate in our photo contest. Enjoy this time of the year, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.